Hey, what's up, y'all? We back at it. So, I hope you have your thinking caps on, got your dukes up, and that you're ready to plunge deep into the depths. And hopefully, we'll come back up with a pearl or some gold or something. This here is part 2 of this series, Champions from the South. First, we did light and heavyweight champions from the South. Now we're doing middleweight champions from the South. Now I'm going to strive to, name as many as I can, or as many as I've found. This by no means limits how many champions are from any area or any part of history. But this series is strictly based on champions who were born and come from the South, down here in Sharika, where many of us live. Kind of like the islands. We got nice weather. We got, country, all types of good stuff. Crops. Anywho, middleweight champions from the South, y'all. Now, I'm going to strive to do only the traditional 8 weight classes in this series. All right, so if you forgot or you don't know what they are, that's flyweight, which is 112 pounds, bantamweight, 118 pounds, featherweight, lightweight, which is 135 pounds. Featherweight is 126, lightweight is 135, welterweight 147 pounds, middleweight 160 pounds, light heavy 175 pounds, and of course we all know heavyweight is 176 pounds to infinity. First champ, middleweight champ from the South that we got on the list today is the great Theodore Tiger Flowers, aka the Georgia Deacon. Now, where's he from? Camellia, Georgia. What was his record? 136 wins and 15 losses and 8 draws. Out of those 136 wins, 56 came by KO.
Sucker, you ain't nothing.
International Boxing Research Organization has Theodore Tiger Flowers ranked as 12th middleweight of all time. Burt Sugar has him placed in his top 100 fighters catalog and on his top 100 list of all time. Bleacher Report has Tiger Flowers ranked in the top 5 greatest southpaws in boxing history. He was inducted into the Georgia Hall of Fame, Ring Magazine Hall of Fame, World and International Halls of Fame, and of course, all after his passing. Now, that is one thing I will say I like about the modern day boxing era. There is a high possibility that you will be appreciated while you're still alive, even though some boxers are overappreciated. But like we were saying, there's a greater chance nowadays to see yourself inducted into the Hall of Fame while you're still breathing and not 20, 30, 40, 50 years after you pass. That is one admirable thing about the modern day boxing era. Now, Theodore Tiger Flowers, he was trying to get a rematch with Walker, I think Mickey Walker, for his middleweight title maybe, but he was hospitalized and he had to have scar tissue removed from his eyes. And from what the article says, the first match with Mickey Walker, for him to lose the title, it was a bogus decision, Vegas-like decision. The crowd questioned it, people were scratching their heads, and the Illinois Commission had to investigate the fight. They probably found, dirty promoters, mob activity, paid judges, something like that. But it goes on to say that the decision was never overturned. So the complications from that eye surgery, probably a retina or like I said, scar tissue, who knows. It resulted in his death in 1927. And sadly to say, those same circumstances caused the death of another boxing great, Harry Greb, the year before. And we always hear this about, Sugar Ray Leonard and other great fighters who get their eyes popped out of socket, man. And Antonio Margarito, the retina's getting detached. I mean, you're putting your life out there, and that's why we love and appreciate these cats. Now, a few interesting things about Theodore Tiger Flowers from GA, the Georgia Deacon. Shout outs to Zone 6 and other people in the YTBC from Georgia. Now, Tiger Flowers was one of the first, if not the first, well-recognized African-American or black or whatever terms people use nowadays, native, nigga, whatever, middleweight champions in boxing. All right, he defeated Greb in 1926 to get the title, and he was nicknamed the Georgia Deacon because he's a highly religious and pious man. And they say before all of his fights, he would read the Psalm, the 144th Psalm, before every bout. And he was buried in Atlanta's Lincoln Cemetery. So if you're passing through, y'all give him a holler, give him a shout. Now, some notable fights and fighters on his resume: Panama Joe Gans, who was the colored middleweight champ for 6 years; Kid Norfolk, who was the Panamanian heavyweight champ and the world colored light heavyweight champ; Sam Langford, Harry Greb, Maxie Rosenblum, Mickey Walker, so on and so on. And if you notice, if you listen to the weight classes, like a lot of these older fighters, he's fighting people from all weight classes. Right? He was over or underweight. He was manning up and, trying to get her done in all weight classes to be great. Next, middleweight champion from the South, we have William Landon Jones. All right? AKA Gorilla Jones. Where is he from? Memphis, y'all. Memphis, Tennessee. Tennessee. Good old Tennessee. Now, he lived from 1906 to 1982, and he passed at the age of 75. And just like what Blood was saying, he's not the original Gorilla Jones. There was another great fighter before him between 1913 and 1924 that had his same moniker. So I don't know if it's passing of the torch, or people see similar characteristics, or you just want to take on the same title that another great fighter has, in your quest for greatness. Now, William Landon Gorilla Jones, he had the world colored welterweight title. All right. And he had the NBA middleweight boxing championship of the world. Now, this is one of his claims to fame, and only a handful of fighters who are this great and has such extensive records can claim this. He was never knocked out in his whole career. He was 104 and 25. And out of those 104 wins, 55 were by KO. He also had 13 draws. And similar to many greats, he was posthumously inducted into the Hall of Fame and the International Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. Later on in life, Gorilla Jones was a trainer on the West Coast from the 40s to the 70s. He worked with Milo Savage, Johnny Wells, Irish Bob Murphy, Suey Welch, Gil King. I only know two of those dudes, but I saw those other names of people that he worked with. Now, here's some interesting facts about William Landon Gorilla Jones. He worked with the legendary Mae West. All right? Y'all look up Mae West. She was an entertainer, singer, dancer, business owner, kind of like a pre-Marilyn Monroe. But anyway, he worked for her as her chauffeur and bodyguard. So she employed him. They were friends, and she supported him until his death. I mean, was it her death or his death? Until his death. Yeah, I think he passed first. And a few sources say that they had a relationship. And just reading some of the backstory, she even bought a building during that era, I guess, so they ins and outs and things they was doing, and lifted the color ban. That means she got rid of the color ban and made it where he couldn't go into the building in his honor so they can go there together. So dude pipe game must have been serious. Anywho, William Gorilla Jones, he had a pet lion for a while too. So I guess, Mike Tyson didn't just pull it out the blue. The cat had a pet lion. I guess when you with a lavish woman and you a champ, you could do things like that. He was nicknamed Gorilla due to his extra long reach. All right, so I don't know. Hopefully we don't see any crazy comments about that, but that's where he got the nickname from, and probably because of his strength and prowess in the ring. But the nickname came from his long reach. And like Blood said in the recent video about the original Joe Walcott, a lot of these boxers use these titles and monikers of other great boxers before them. And if they didn't use them, sometimes managers or people would give it to them because they see the same likeness, you know, in that fighter. Now here's some notable fighters and fights on his resume. The world middleweight champ, the Tacoma assassin, Freddie Steele. I like his style and resume. The American middleweight champ, Ben Jebby. World middleweight champ, Marcel Thiel. I think he's from France. The rugged journeyman, Sammy Slaughter. 173 wins with 83 KOs, Tommy Freeman is on his resume, and he would have went on the list, Tommy Freeman, but he's from Arkansas, and plus he's a welterweight, so we'll get him in the welterweight chance from the South video. He got Alabama Kid on his resume. Alabama Kid had 175 wins. He's one of the few handful of boxers in history that has over 100 knockouts with 105. And he was the Negro or colored world middleweight champ. The Alabama Kid was. And quick note, there's a difference between the world colored, Negro, and African American champ when you look at the stats. You know, one is recognized kind of worldly and one is kind of like street or ghetto fame, but we're going to touch a little bit on that in another video. Now, I can't remember which one was the decorated one, which one was the street one, which one was the one that people avoided, you know, kind of like the Murderous Row brothers. But those terms, Negro, colored, black, and African American champ, were all used interchangeably. Sometimes one was left out. Anywho, I just really think that maybe one of those titles was recognized by white media or quote unquote white newspapers, and to signify the champion on the books, you know, at home here in North America and abroad. But we'll touch up on that, like we said, we'll touch up on that in another video. All right, where are we? Yeah, Jones, on Jones' resume, like Blood was saying earlier again too, a lot of these old head boxers, when you see and you look them up, they were giving up anywhere between 10 and 30 pounds to fight someone in a higher or lighter division than them. And when you research them, you would definitely see that they're fighting these dudes. You'll be surprised. You'll be looking up, let's say, this is an example. I'm not sure this really happened, but you'll be looking up Joe Gans, and you'll see Sam Langford on the red. You're like, what the hell? And you'll look it up, and like, damn, Sam Langford fought the lightweight was. But these dudes, they were getting it in. Matter they were exhibition matches or matches for the army or matches just for show or just money or stage matches. You know, a lot of them are actually recorded and on their records. All right? So that's why we give credence and prestige to these cats that were taking chances, knuckling up, getting deep into their craft, and manning up whenever possible. Now the next champ we have, middleweight champ we have from the South, good old Sharika, is the late, great Sugar Ray Robinson, who was a world middleweight champ on all levels, all tiers, universal. But Sugar Ray Robinson wasn't born Sugar Ray Robinson. We're going to do a profile on Sugar Ray, a longer profile. He was born Walker Jr. Smith, or Walker Smith Jr. He from Ailey, Georgia. His father was a farmer from Georgia who moved the family to Detroit, and he worked 2 jobs. And quote, Sugar Ray Robinson said, "My father had to get up at 6 in the morning, and he'd get home close to midnight because he worked 2 jobs, and he did this 6 days a week. The only day I really had to see my father was on Sunday. I always wanted to be with him more." Now, I'll put that in there because since mostly men or fathers will be listening to these boxing videos, just had to, keep a reminder to stay on it. The children need you, the women need you. Keep being the leader and the strong, figure in your family for those, in your circle and to the world. All right? We need your father for structure, discipline, all that good stuff. Plus the father is, I know nowadays it don't seem like it, but the father is a key part of successful, family and civilization and all that shit. The other half being the mother or the woman, or if you want to cut it up into thirds, women and children, making up the other 2/3 of the great, family. All right, enough of that. Next, middleweight champion from the South. Big ups to Jermaine Taylor, y'all. He's from Little Rock, Arkansas. And yes, he was an undisputed champ. We might as well go ahead and say world or universal, because he held all the 4 top belts at the time. After he beat Bernard Hopkins, and then went out of his way to have a rematch with Hopkins when he was supposed to take a mandatory, then they stripped him of one of his damn belts. So technically he wasn't undisputed for long, but he still was. All right, like on the Sugar Ray Robinson level, he had all the belts, world universal champ. He had the WA, WBC, IBF, WO, and bam, that's it for Jermaine Taylor. Next on the list, world middleweight champ from the South is Ray Charles Leonard, aka Sugar Ray Leonard. Where is he from? Wilmington, North Kakalaki, North Syracuse, or some people say Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And he was the WBC middleweight champ. Also, he was one of the first boxers to earn over $100 million in purse in his profits from fighting. Now, we all know he won world titles in 5 weight divisions. I don't think it was the original, 8 division. We all call these supers and lights, but that's neither here nor there. It's on the books as 5. They added in the design catch weight classes like super middleweight, 168 and all that. So bam, he still got it. And we all know his great resume, even though he didn't have as many fights, but he has people such as Marvin Hagler on the resume, Duran, Hearns, Benitez. Shoot, Sugar Ray Leonard was even named Boxer of the Decade for the 80s. And I had to throw him in here because of his greatness, even though he only had the WBC and ring middleweight championship. And then he went on to super middleweight. And in case y'all don't know, we'll say it again, original middleweight is at 160. All right? Now, Leonard, he went up to, super middleweight? He might have went up to light heavyweight. I'm not sure. A lot of these dudes was doing that, to extend their legacy. Whether they was cherry picking or not, or picking the not-so-tough guy. I'm glad when the big fights came, they took them, and they got all the names on their resume, or most of them at least, to cement their legacy. All right, next. Middleweight champ from the South, y'all. We have Tommy, or Thomas, the Hitman Hearn. Hearns is from Memphis, Tennessee, y'all. Tennessee. So shout outs to Orange Mound and all the other great areas of Memphis and Tennessee. All right. Shout outs to anybody in the Y2BC who's from Tennessee. But we all know that the Hitman Hearns is affectionately called the Motor City Cobra. Now, he won the middleweight title by acquiring some alphabet belt. Right here it says the NABF. And he won a more prestigious belt, which was the WBC, thank goodness. But basically, it was against these 2 titles he won, the NABF and the WBC titles at middleweight. And he did win it at the original middleweight. I don't want to call them bums, but y'all look them up. One was against James Schuler and the other one was against Doug DeWitt. Now, another great, doing what he's supposed to do, like Rilo Jenkins said in his Real Men Do Real Things video, he challenged himself and he strived to achieve greatness in higher weights, in higher divisions by acquiring more titles in multiple divisions. And that's just the order of the day. If you do what the hell you're supposed to do, history will always remember you, and we'll always throw you up in the debate to say you could beat his ass, you'll lose to him, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, the next middleweight champion from the South, we got Quincy Taylor, and he from Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas, y'all. And he had the WBC belt. All right. And he was in the middleweight division. He was a southpaw, and he now Quincy Taylor did some extensive sparring with Sugar Ray Leonard. And the story goes that he almost knocked Sugar Ray Leonard out in sparring while Sugar Ray Leonard was preparing for his fight with Marvin Hagler. And there's a coach down here in the boxing gym near around us, right around the corner. And I can't remember the coach's name. Wow. But anyway, he used to spar with Sugar Ray Leonard, and he said that his downfall was going extra hard and sparring against Sugar Ray Leonard, trying to knock him out. And it just made me wonder, what was it about Sugar Ray Leonard that people trying to knock him out sparring? I know how sparring gets, Or maybe Sugar Ray was a little nice or cautious while sparring, or maybe he was just taking a break. But I know how it is. When you're the champ, you got an X on your back, and I used to hate that. I can't stand people don't know how to spar, man. We looking for things. We're looking for setups. We'll see what's trying to work in the match. Or any boxer or fighter. You want to go hard a little bit, but you're not in there like it's a real damn fight. You're not in there. I'm paying you to spar, or you're paying me. Let's not kill each other because we both have a career. Y'all learn how to spar. That's really agitating. Anywho, Quincy Taylor won the WBC middleweight title against Julian Jackson. That was a big upset because it was a TKO. All right, now that was real big for him. That's how he got the WBC middleweight title. And after that, he fought Keith Holmes. Then he took a layoff, and then he finally retired in either 2001 or 2002. And I want to say that he lost his title, but he didn't have it long. But we had to put him on it because at one point he was the champ, and he's from the South. Next fighter we have, middleweight champion from the South, Reggie Dwayne Johnson, nicknamed Sweet. All right, and he was born in Houston, Texas, H-Town. Now, and I heard the women down there are fire.
Sucker, you ain't nothing.
Johnson won the WBA Intercontinental Middleweight title in 1989. Then he won the USBA Middleweight title in 1990. Of course, some alphabet belts, but he's still the champ. And he had 2 belts, and he had one of the more prestigious belts, the WBA. And he had it, not for he had those 2 titles, but not for long because he lost against James Toney. All right, James Toney, baby, lights out. And that was for the IBF middleweight title. And his final career record stands at 44 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw. And 25 out of those 44 wins were by KO. Next middleweight champ from the South, Roy Jones Jr. Where is he from? Pensacola, Florida. Pensacola, Florida, y'all. AKA what he calls Mo Beezy or Mo Peasy. Y'all must have forgotten. Okay, Roy, y'all must have forgot Jones, one of the most entertaining fighters in history, definitely a top 100 fighter. Sadly to say he's still fighting, but that's neither here nor there. Now, Jones won the IBF, excuse me, Jones won the IBF middleweight title. Then he defended it once. Then he went up to super middle, and he never came back down to the original middleweight division of 160. All right. So super middleweight, cruiser, all that to me is really light heavyweight. But we already went in on that in another video. Roy Jones Jr., I would say, finished his career at 60 wins and 8 losses with 43 KOs. But the Joker's still fighting. Give it up, man. We love your commentary. Up here fighting these European bums, he just won't be satisfied. Won't be satisfied. And I would say he would be a great gatekeeper, but he's old. He's taken more than enough punishment. He's taken more than enough KO losses. And plus, he already has a great job. He's around the sport he loves, his art, his craft, the sweet science. Why don't these dudes open up a gym or coach or become a motivational speaker? And I'm sure he has a family. Chill out, Roy, man, before you get knocked into a coma or knocked into bad health. Just don't understand this with these fighters that can't let it go. We love y'all, but y'all way past your prime. Not just past your prime, where you still might be able to catch a C or B rank up-and-coming fighter slipping and knock him out, but way past his prime. And oh yeah, excuse me, while I was looking up some of Roy Jones' pictures, how come no one told me he had a naked selfie of him in the picture? I mean, I'm butt naked, y'all. Probably sending it to some chick or some little hoochie online or some little model he met. And quick service announcement, men, especially men of means, men of status, men with a lot of money. What is up with y'all sending these dick pics and naked pics to women? Do that in person. You don't have to do that. And I know 78 Sports TV has touched on this a lot. And yeah, I know women send nude photos too. But if you're famous, you just don't know what someone will use against you, you know, to get money or street fame off your name. All right, next boxer. Another great middleweight champ from South, y'all. from the South. Clarence Reeves, a.k.a. the Alabama Kid. Don't let the name confuse you, because he's actually from Concord, Georgia. Now, before we start, it was hard as hell trying to get information on the Alabama Kid, Clarence Reeves. And I know you already know this, but there were other people who weren't as good, or who were just straight bums, who were using his same moniker or name. But the articles had different info. A few claimed not to have his correct birthday. Y'all know how it is. The numbers fluctuate with the wins and knockouts. Some are surprisingly high and others are surprisingly low. The pictures were difficult to find, at least for me, so on and so forth. But this is what we had thus far. All right. His moniker, the Alabama Kid, birth name, Clarence Olan Reeves, born in 1914 on New Year's Day. Birthplace, Concord, Georgia, y'all. Peace out to Georgia. He passed away at 56, another tragic thing. Had to fight hard your whole life, get over 100 knockouts. By the way, the Alabama Kid is one of a handful of men that have achieved over 100 knockouts in their tenure as a boxer. He was a southpaw, stood at 5'8", had a 76-inch reach. Now his record was 175 from what I compiled. Of course, I took the best one and the highest one because he probably had tons more fights that were just left off, and y'all know how it goes with those older fighters. But his record was 175 wins, 59 losses, and 20 draws. Okay? And all those 175 wins, hence he's in the over 100 knockout club, 108 were by knockout. And he had 3 newspaper decisions, or newspaper split decisions, which were 1, 1, and 1. All right? And again, I know we said it, he's an elite class of dynamite punchers. And only a handful of greats can say that they'll ever have over 100 KOs, let alone over 100 wins, let alone over 100 bouts total. If you add up their whole win, loss, draw, newspaper decision, no contest columns, they won't equal 100 then. And I know y'all might say, well, he has over 100 KOs, but he's probably knocking out bums, garbage men and taxi drivers. I know that's the flowing joke here in the YTBC. Well, I say this, so what? Do you know how difficult it is for these dudes nowadays to knock out bums, even C or B-level fighters? Do y'all know how difficult that is for these dudes nowadays? So knocking out a bum is actually quite difficult if you ask me. Y'all, we've all been in street scraps. Mother flushers punching each other and bleeding and on the ground rolling, and people got to come break you up, and somebody got sand through in their eye. They holding their hand saying you still can't knock them out. And do y'all know how difficult it is to knock out a grown man, especially a trained professional man? Knocking someone out is an art all in itself. You got to have a mean streak. You got to have piss in your veins. You got to have pop in your punch. It just blows my mind when I see fighters who have more KOs than dudes have total fights, total losses and draws combined in their whole career, and then people want to talk trash about their KOs or the people they were fighting. Just amazing. But like I say in a lot of the descriptions of these videos, y'all bow down at the feet of the masters. All right, back to the Alabama Kid, Clarence Reeves. He fought everywhere from flyweight to heavyweight, y'all. Now, he actually didn't weigh in at heavyweight, but he fought contenders throughout his whole career, everywhere from flyweight to heavyweight. Y'all talk about Manny Pacquiao and them 8 weight classes, but imagine if you were fighting with the original 8 weight classes and you fought everybody from flyweight to heavyweight. Think how much of a jump, think how much of a challenge, a feat that is to complete. All right, so we know the Alabama Kid is tried and true. Here's the interesting thing or two about the Alabama Kid, Clarence Reeves. There's an article, a stripping that was pasted online. It was talking about how his wife was complaining, crying, writing pardon letters because they were trying to deport the Alabama Kid out of Australia. See, a lot of fighters in the golden eras, they would actually travel to Europe, the islands, to other continents and fight and test out they Jews to see if they really got it. They traveled all over to see who the best was, no problem. Shoot, Alabama Kid traveled to Australia and he even stayed there between 8 and 12 years whooping heads. And to be honest, I think he was just whooping too many Australian heads, so they wanted to get rid of him. The woman he got married to, his wife Jacqueline, was, of course, a native Australian woman, and they had 2 children together. Now, the Australians did this to another black boxer who was over there whooping heads named Charles Tiger Parker. Y'all look him up. I didn't do a lot of research on him, but they also deported him as well. And he was doing well, Tiger Parker. He got married, had chaps over there in Australia. They put some trumped up charges on him, and they deported him too. But anyway, the rest of the article clearly states that she cried and pleaded with the Australian government that if he deport her husband, the Alabama kid, that her and their family had no way, no means to survive. All right, look right there. Looks like the dude wearing MMA gloves, maybe 4, 5, 6 ounces. Just pointing that out. But there's a book online, or I think it's really the online Australian catalog you can either purchase or download, and has way more detailed information on the Alabama kid's life. And it's titled Portrait of Boxer Clarence Reeves, the Alabama Kid, by Herbert Fishwick. Now, I'm not sure if it's a book or article or some catalog information, but since he got children and a wife and fought all of his fights over in Australia, I'm sure that will have a lot more and better information than what's here presented to y'all now. And one thing I couldn't find, I never figured out why they call him the Alabama Kid when he was from Georgia, and then he lived in Australia for 10 or more years. But I guess we'd have to dig deep, get our Burt Sugar on, and look up the catalogs and articles and books to find out more. All right, the next middleweight champ from the South, we got Lonnie Bradley from Chucktown, South Carolina, y'all. Chucktown, aka Charleston. Now, Bradley won the vacant WBO middleweight title in 1995 after he knocked out David Mendez. He defended the title 6 times, and then he relinquished or vacated his belt. All right. Now, he retired in 2003 after he suffered his only defeat, y'all. His only defeat to David Lopez, and it was by knockout. And that's another big thing. I know we always bring it up, but that's really a testament to you as a fighter, as a boxer, as a warrior, as a person, for you to come back after a knockout. Because a lot of fighters, after that knockout loss, or maybe their first loss, maybe their third, maybe their 30th, it's psychologically damaging to get knocked out and then have to come back and do better, have to stand back up off the canvas and, fight to see a better day. But his record stands at 29 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And out of those 29 wins, he won 21 by KO. And maybe that's a testament. Maybe he felt like he was the knockout artist, and once he got knocked out, he was like, damn, I just quit. Somebody knocked me out, I'm through. Y'all know people like that. Somebody get me in the game, or somebody beat me on the sticks, or somebody outrace me, I'm through, because I know I'm the best at it. That's neither here nor there. The man was 29-1 and won a middleweight champion from the South. Now, I could have threw in Jeff Left Hook Lacey in here and a few other champs from the South, but I'm just trying to stick to the traditional, tried and true, and tested, proved middleweight champs at the original middleweight weight division, which is 160. All right, Jeff Left Hook Lacey was a super middleweight at 168, which 40 or some odd years ago, he would have been competing at light heavyweight. Or he just would have had to suck weight to get down to 160.
Sucker, you ain't nothing.
Next great middleweight champ from the South, Johnny Banks, born in December 25th, the day of your boy Jesus, in 1861 in Richmond, VA, Virginia, y'all. And he just makes the cut because VA is right below the Mason-Dixie line for a middleweight champ from the South. Of course, he was an African-American or black boxer, and you know about his moniker or nickname, which is the Darky Wizard. The Darky Wizard. And he was a Negro middleweight champion of the world during the 1880s. And this is also a feat in itself. The dude stood at 5'6", 5 feet, 5'5", 5'6" tall. And he fought. Even though he's from VA, he fought out of New York, and he fought in all weights ranging from 125 pounds to 160 pounds. Now, in his career, on the books or what was found of his record, his official record is only 11 wins with 8 losses and 17 draws. And when I went back and looked at some other fighters, you would see their official record, but then you'd have to dig deeper to get, a lot of their exhibitions, or you'll dig deeper and you'll find a site or article that has an outstanding record, which is what their record probably was, but for some odd reason, it wasn't recorded, quote unquote, officially. Anywho, a lot of these old fighters, especially in the 1800s and early 1900s, most, if not all, of their fights damn near went unrecorded. I'm pretty sure Blood and Beats and other cats in the YTBC have said this. So you would have to go to these spots and go to old black men or just old men and women of these towns where Johnny Banks fought somewhere and try to tally up his wins and losses. Try to listen out for his legendary fights, his legacy, his tales. And as of right now, we'll just never know. Or maybe it's just one of those cases where they were recorded, but they were never released, or they were thrown up under the Smithsonian somewhere. You just never know. And this is what Blood Boxing was talking about. He was talking about the anguish and the heart and the guts of these fighters. Many of these great fighters were forgotten by history for whatever reasons. And because of their triumphs and toil, cats like Cotto and many other boxers nowadays can demand a certain amount of money, can demand a certain arena to fight in, can demand a certain judge to judge the fight, and the list goes on. Now, great boxing historian Nate Flesher claimed that Johnny Banks fought as many times as 5 times a week, all right, in Philly and in other places, fighting 5 times a week, and he averaged, this is according to the historian, y'all, Nate Flesher, and I'm sure a lot of his accounts were primary resource accounts, like first-hand accounts. His eyes saw it, he wrote it down. But he said that he, at one point in his career, fought 5 fights a week for a whole year. And he did this for at least 5 years straight. A fight per week, y'all. Woo. I know, see, because I coach fighters and young grapplers, I know a lot of my students who can barely spar hard or spar full matches or rounds or grapple 3 or 4 days in a row without getting injured or needing a rest or without having a need to sit out. And then you got champs like Johnny Banks who did it day in, day out, week in, week out, all year long. How long? All right, now, in case you don't know about Flesher, he claimed that Johnny Banks won over 90% of his bouts. So according to let's use our constructive, deconstructive, let's just use our thinking cap and our thinking. If he won 90% of his bouts, there's no way that the official record of 11 wins, 8 losses, and 17 draws can be his official record, because that's way below 90% winning. All right? Anyway, Banks contorted his mouth, this is according to Flesher again, Nate Flesher, while fighting. He snorted, he grunted, I guess like a wild bull or a wild, beast in the ring, and he yelled a lot. Probably, Nate Flesher wasn't a boxer, he was just an historian, but he probably was doing a lot of things like how they do in karate and kung fu. You want to exhale as you're punching, exhale like a lot of boxers do nowadays with that sound. He's probably doing a lot with the breathing, but then again, who knows? Maybe he was just that dude. He was the darky wizard. Maybe he was doing magic, getting them punches out of there, getting himself more energy. You just never know. And Nate Flesher went on to say that he was a very smart boxer with a good right hand. And if you don't know about Nate Flesher, he's one of the greatest boxing historians in boxing history. Sort of like a Burt Sugar, but he was pre-Burt Sugar. He came before Burt Sugar. Nate Flesher wrote books. He had a boxing encyclopedia. He even started some association. I can't remember the name. I think it was the BWAA. I'm not 100% positive, but I think it was the BWAA. He started that, and there was even an award or two named in Nate Fletcher's honor. All right, back to Banks. Banks claimed the Negro middleweight title, but he lost it to James Desverney in January of 1887 in New York. And it was a disqualification. You just never know. So the newspaper will say split. The official record will say disqualification. I even see that when nowadays fights, when you go back and do the research, you'll see that same type of stuff going on. Now, I'm sure there were other middleweight champs with specific titles, such as the Panamanian champ, like we've already known and seen in history. And I said that to say because on Johnny Banks' record, he beat a Panamanian champ, like we heard earlier with Kid Norfolk. And other provinces and other countries all had champions, y'all. That's why you have titles such as the California Mexican title. So you know Mexico had their champ, California had their champ, Philly had their champ, Puerto Rico had their champ, Jamaica had their champ, all over, Hawaii. And we'd all toss it up, mix it up to see who the number one, who the crown king champ is. And that's how it should be today. But we've already went in on that enough. All right. But just to stick to the video. This video is about champs from the South. Big ups to Johnny Banks. All right. Next middleweight champ from the South, Eddie Palmer. Now, Eddie Palmer was the world colored welterweight and world colored middleweight champion. He was born in Louisiana in 1892. In case y'all don't know what that is, that's New Orleans. But the folks there never say it. They say Noya or Nola. Anyway, Palmer was about 5'9", and he fought everywhere between 140 and 160. He fought out of Philadelphia and he fought out the Noya, New Orleans. All right. Just some quick things about his resume. He fought Battling Levinsky. I know we've all heard of him or maybe seen him in an article clip or on BoxRec. He fought Battling Levinsky in 1912, and he fought him a few times, but both the fights were called either splits or no decisions. And, you know, just put it like this. Let's say your town is you're the town champ, you're going against another town champ. And you got your judges and managers there. They got their judges and managers there. You got your crowd folk people there, and they got their crowd full people. And if it's a close fight, granted, you might outbox someone 2 or 3 rounds, or they might outbox you 2 or 3 rounds. Imagine how difficult it is to crown one of them 2 dudes the champion. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's almost like two nations champions coming together to fight, and it's a close fight. In one sense, it might seem unfair to declare a winner, because, you know, both of them are champions and they want the decisive win. But on the other hand, of course, there was a decisive win, especially if they went 20 rounds. Somebody got the best of somebody, but maybe they all were in cahoots to say, you know what, we're just going to call this one a draw. We don't want nobody to start no damn riot. We don't want they fans to get mad and tear up our house, or we don't want us to get mad and we tear up their house. So it kind of kept the peace, or maybe they was like, you know what, I think that's another reason why they had those long 20, 30 round fights. To say, this is your champ, this is our champ, fuck it. Whoever get knocked out, that's the loser. But if they last all 30 rounds, it's just a no decision, because we don't want nothing crazy going on after this fight. All right, back to Eddie Palmer. Palmer declared himself the world colored welterweight champion in 1912 after fighting Tommy Coleman. All right. Then, you know, he also had fights with what's my man name? We was just talking about him earlier, middleweight champ from the South, Tiger Flowers. But he didn't win none of his fights with Tiger Flowers. All right. And back to the welterweight scene, he was a welterweight, or fighting cats at welterweight. He fought Coleman 4 or 5, 6 times, and they went back and forth. And of course, like everything in history, they had controversial bouts, people getting mad, or a lot of times we see these bouts, it'll be a no decision at the actual bout. But the people that are recording or writing it down, they'll get back to the press, to the penny press or whatever, and write it in favor of one dude, or get paid off to write it as a split decision win for somebody, or get paid off to write it as y'all see what I'm saying? So, you know, snake deals, money, bets, politics, Sadly to say, it was even in boxing this long ago. All right. Now, Eddie Palmer is one of the men in history who killed a man in the ring. He boxed and beat a man to death, literally. The dude's name was Kid Harris. And I couldn't get the year, but it was on December 9th between his 10-year fight. And he killed Kid Harris in the ring. I know we've heard of Sugar Ray Robinson doing that. I think either Ezra Charles or Jersey Joe Walcott might have done that as well. I'm not 100% sure, but Eddie Palmer is one of those fighters who killed someone in the ring. Just a little extra on Palmer. He, of course, we know he's a middleweight champion, the colored middleweight champion, and really, I don't even like these titles. To me, you're either the champion or you're not, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt. You gotta expect it. Some of these dudes had faulty promoters and managers. Some of these dudes probably fought the actual champs, or they weren't recorded, or as exhibition, or the champs were told to avoid certain fighters. Y'all, we already know all this. But he fought young kid McCoy twice for the to defend his middleweight, colored middleweight title. He won that. Fought Tiger Flowers a few times. He lost those. He even went up and fought light heavyweight, a dude named Owen Phelps in Arizona. He lost that. He went back to fighting in the Nolia. Anyway, his record stands. His official record, quote unquote, is not his actual record. We know he has tons more fights than this. But it stands as 45 wins, 23 losses, and 2 draws. But dig this. He had 24 newspaper decisions. So we already know that the newspaper got half his wins, and his official record got half his wins. Then you got to know that some other town or recording index got another half or, percentage of his wins. All right. Next, great middleweight champ from the South, Holman Williams. All right. And if you heard his name before, I'm sure many of you have. He was on the famed Murderers Row, or Black Murderers Row, a highly regarded league of champions and fighters who were ducked, who were, I guess, kind of outcast from boxing. Now, many fighters did fight them, all right, but they never fought all of them, and a lot of them, even though they were highly skilled and tough and good champs, didn't get the fights, didn't get the championship bouts that they were well deserved. Now, Holman Williams, he's from Pensacola, Florida, too, just like Roy Jones, or one of Roy Jones Jr. knows about him. He's from Mobeezy, too, and he was born in 1915, and he passed in 1967. Now, Holman Williams fought fighters everywhere from bantamweight to light heavyweight, but he himself, he started off his career at bantamweight, and he got all the way up to the official weight of middleweight. All right. Now, he fought here's the notable fighters that he fought. This is another member, or another 2 members from the, well, actually it's 3 now I'm looking at it. Or it might be 2, but he fought the other fighters from the infamous, dangerous, notorious Murderers Row. He fought Coco Kid, he fought Charlie Burley, Eddie Booker, and I think those 3 are from the Murderers Row. I'm not sure about Eddie Booker. He fought Bob Satterfield, Archie Moe, Marcel Cerdan. Holman Williams fought Jake LaMotta. So as you can see, when you couldn't get the championship fights that you well deserved, you wound up having to fight other outcast fighters. You had to fight other dudes who were rough and tough, didn't give a damn, will fight the champ for $20 or 20 pennies. All right. Now, the World Colored Middleweight Championship, I guess it was off and on, or maybe it was just street recognition, but right here it says it was revived in the 1940s. And Charlie Burley had it, and Williams fought him, of course, a good buddy. By the way, a lot of these dudes in the Murderers Row knew each other, hung out, sparred, so on and so forth. But he fought Charlie Burley a few times, fought Coco Kid a few times, and at one point in time he had the colored middleweight championship, then he lost it. I know for sure he lost it once to Charlie Burley. But Holman Williams retired in, 1943, I think 1943. But now I had to go and search deep, high and low for his true record, or his, I guess, unofficial record. And it stands as 145 wins, 30 losses, and 11 draws and 1 no contest. And his record states that 35 out of those 145 wins are by big KO. All right. Now Williams, like many other greats, was inducted into the Hall of Fame posthumously, after his death, unfortunately. And I don't know what else to say, but middleweight champions from the South, y'all. The South got the juice. The South got the cream of the crop. You know what I'm saying? Pun intended. And again, I guess it's just an informative video and a video to get our knowledge and our research up. And plus, we just, we fans, man. We fanatics. We love boxing. And it's just good to hear this stuff. I'm kind of hoping somebody else will come out with another area to contest with the champions from the South. But that's neither here nor there. This video wasn't made, again, disclaimer, this video ain't made out of no malice or no taking no shots at nobody. I'm just proud of the South. I'm just proud of the rich history. I'm just proud of the great champs that are from down here. The next edition will be welterweight champions from the South. Hope y'all enjoyed it, y'all. Stay strong, stay in shape, keep your dukes up. We love boxing.
Sucker, you ain't nothing. You too ugly to represent us colored folks. These Africans think all of us ugly. Sucker, look at you. You out, sucker.